Hey, and welcome to Shooting the Bull. I'm Justin.
I'm Ross.
I'm Aaron.
And we have Aaron back with us tonight. And Ariana is on special assignment.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they say in the...
When they get
the
demoted.
Not
that she got demoted.
Not that she got demoted.
But, yeah.
Ariana is actually going to be taking a leave of absence from the show for a while. She'll be coming back every now and again as a special guest. But we will be possibly bringing in a new female voice very, very soon to come and grace you listeners. So we'll keep you posted on who that would be. But how is everybody doing tonight? Everybody super? Super. Really crappy weather this week. And I hear that Friday there could be a chance of ice or snow mix the first time of the year.
I hope snow. I hope no ice.
I don't think snow. I don't think snow was in the cards, really. I think it was supposed to be more of ice.
Yeah, snow's not really in the cards for North Carolina until, February?
Yeah. That means everybody's going to freak out. The grocery stores are going to be missing bread and milk. You won't be able to get any of that, which I've never understood the whole bread and milk. You can't make anything
from bread
a bread and milk sandwich. A soggy sandwich.
And milk only has, so long a lifespan.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other
If you lose power, your milk is toast. You would have to set your milk outside just to get it cold enough. I wonder if that would work if you just set it outside in the freezing rain.
You have to wait for it to thaw for you.
Yeah. I guess you
can use it, yeah.
Milk cubes.
Icy milk.
Guys, that does not sound disgusting.
That sounds pretty gross.
Cubes.
Milk. I love milk though. I drink it. I drink a glass every night before I go to bed.
Are you a milk drinker?
No.
I'm not either.
You don't drink milk at all?
I do not.
Do you like eggnog?
No. I don't even cook with milk.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
So you don't bake?
No.
You don't bake.
You don't bake. Do you eat stuff
No,
that is baked?
even if I did bake, I wouldn't put milk in it. Yeah.
Do you eat stuff that's baked with milk in it?
Yeah.
You just don't do it yourself.
Yeah, not purposely. No.
If it's not in there, you don't know
Lactose is not an intentional...
well, he's...
I'm right there with you on that.
I'm glad I don't have that. Do you like ice cream?
Yeah, but I don't ever desire it.
I desire it
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Right now, in fact. I would stop this show to eat some ice cream.
I make hot cocoa with water.
That's strange.
I guess, but...
As opposed to milk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like using milk for the oatmeal. That's tasty.
I'll give you that. It changes it a little bit. It makes it a little more classic, watery. It's a little bit more, I don't know, what's the right word? It's less sticky, more soupy.
I like my oatmeal classic. I want my oatmeal classic, please.
I had milk the other day with cereal in it, and I felt horrible for 3 hours. And that's just a tiny little, because you don't... How much milk do you consume with cereal? Just whatever's on it.
If it's not a part of your diet, like for me, it's not something that... If I went out and ate, a tub of ice cream, I would be ill.
Yeah.
Just because my body wouldn't know what to do with all that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
Well,
a few months ago, we talked about, I think on the show, sorbet.
Oh, yes.
I had my first sorbet the other day.
What'd you think?
It was pretty good. Is sorbet not made with milk?
right, it's not.
Yeah, I think it's made with something else. I think it's a different process entirely.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was definitely way better than ice cream.
It's okay. Yeah.
You're an ice cream guy.
I am. There's a place in downtown Wilmington that makes ice cream that when I go there, I always go. They have my favorite style of ice cream. It's called Superman.
What is that?
It's a vanilla-based ice cream that's like blue, yellow, red.
Oh, just the colors.
And all kinds of different things. And it tastes, I guess, kind of fruity.
Like Superman?
Like Superman.
Little fruity.
Little fruity. Colorful and fruity. Hey, anyone who wears an outfit like that has to be a little fruity, right? I mean, crime fighting, though, if you were going to fight crime, I would think that a really tight spandex suit would probably be really good because you would want to have the movability.
Yeah, I think that's the point, yeah.
He's not thinking about how he looks.
No. Although he
definitely wants to show off, look at the muscle.
Well, that, and he's got that perfectly little
Nice
curled, greased curl in his head.
Which he does when he becomes Superman, because when he's just Clark Kent, it's just parted.
Oh, he doesn't have that?
No, and then when he becomes Superman, it's like he's like, let me do the curl. That adds 10 pounds to the punch if I have the curl.
What do you guys think of real-life superheroes? Have you ever seen, I forget what the name of it might be.
That documentary about the real life superheroes.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because
it's kind of sad.
No, it's pitiful, but I think that it's also kind of funny because if there was such a thing as Batman, we were just talking before the show about, Batman. That's one of my favorite subjects. But, I think, though, that if there was such a thing, think about it. Like, if you turn on the news and how would they say it? On the news, they always talked about in the Batman story of, like, all the great things Batman did and what Batman did that night. In real life, it would be like, grown man seen jumping from rooftop dressed as a bat.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do about that?
He would be mocked, and
it'd be like grown man is going around dressed up like a bat.
Yeah. The ones in that documentary are no one takes them too serious.
No. And, what's the guy that created the gun that shot
the Ice Cube?
The Ice Cube gun.
Oh,
he created a gun that was perfect, a perfect weapon. It shot an ice cube so fast that
it allegedly could just tear through your skull.
Through your skull, but it would melt in your skull. Therefore, you couldn't get the evidence is gone. Perfect weapon.
He talked about it. People kind of laughed at it. And he was like, "Okay,
Aaron's
laugh
thinking about it right now. He's got to look like, damn, that's pretty good."
People laughed at it and on the documentary, and he was like, "Okay, laugh all you want, but when an ice cube rips through your skull and then there's no evidence, we'll see who's laughing." Like he was serious.
About it. The Ice Cube gun.
He also had those like flashbangs.
That's the one gun Punisher never carried around with him, and he really should have.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Punisher kicks down the door all in black with a skull, bodyguard suit on, his bodysuit on, and he's got like a gun, and ice cubes just start coming out.
Yeah.
I am the Punisher.
That was. I don't know what that guy's done though. A few of them actually did stop.
There was the one guy. There was the one guy who was like a trained martial arts guy.
He's like, and his name was like Knight.
Yeah, nice. Or something. Yeah, and he actually went to the park and stopped a drug deal, and he actually could fight. He was the real deal. Mm-hmm. But then there was like the other guys who've never been in a fight in their life,
not in shape either.
Not in shape, and they were the superheroes, Yeah. But he was the one guy in the whole documentary that was like the real deal.
Yeah, he led a group that I think he called like the League of Heroes or something.
Yeah,
a bunch of other heroes.
Yeah.
It might have been, I think actually was like...
It
had some name like the
and it was like a logo of a football type thing.
Was it?
Wasn't it?
I'm not
it was
sure.
like it was like the logo of the NFL, but it was like...
Oh, yeah.
There it was like changed.
That's right. Yeah.
It's a really good documentary if you ever get a chance to watch it about real life superheroes.
It's pretty good. There's that one guy who, his face is blurred, I think. Or was he just wearing glasses? But he doesn't, like his parents don't agree with what he's doing. And apparently he's gotten to a point where he's getting threats by people. And he takes himself super serious. And of course, like with editing, I feel like they were kind of going for sort of a comedic vibe anyway. But it starts off, I think the first time you see him, he's just sitting in like his sweatpants in this really messy apartment watching the Power Rangers. And he's like, oh, they're going to morph. They're going to morph now. And that's how they introduce him. And it was like, and once you start that off, it's like, who can take this guy serious?
He was getting evicted because he wasn't paying rent. But he told the camera crew, I like to keep moving around because my enemies try to find out where I live.
Yeah.
But in reality, he was actually getting kicked out of the place because he didn't have a job.
Oh, is that so?
That's what it was. And
so he wasn't getting threatened at all.
By the end of the documentary, this is the guy I felt the most for. Because by the end of the documentary, he was living out of his van. Yeah, and all he took with him was his comic books. Yeah. So he's in a van with like mountains of comic books, which he called the files.
Yeah.
Remember that? He called them the files.
Yeah, he like studies them as if they're manuals.
It was. I mean, I laughed, but like it was when I'm watching it, I was really sad.
Yeah,
it got me in the feels. Got me right in the feels. It certainly did. Great documentary. I released my new slasher film this weekend, Sideshow. Mm-hmm. It's a genre piece. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the old slasher films from the 70s and 80s. That if you ever get a chance to just look up old like vintage slasher movies.
Yeah.
I mean, they were beautiful. I mean, they were absolutely beautiful. Because
I don't think I was ever really into slashers.
Dude, what a really good one I need to show you one night. One night, can you come over for a showing?
Maybe.
I will show you Girls' Night Out. Is a great one. It's like these girls go on a scavenger hunt at their college. They have like a scavenger hunt that night.
Yeah. And
there's a killer going around, and the school mascot, which is a bear, and he's got this knife thing that he holds in his hand, and it's got like 5 claws, like a bear.
Like a bear claw.
And he just slashes at like these girls' throats and stuff like that. But it is like so awesome. I thought you were
gonna say what's wrong with the nuns?
Oh, nude nuns with big guns.
That's it. Nude nuns with big guns.
I've been looking for that.
Sounds like porn.
It does, and it like teeters a line, but it actually teeters a line, but it actually isn't. But like it's a really bad movie. Obviously, a title like that, it's not going to be Oscar worthy, but like it's a really bad movie.
It's
but
like
it's fun to watch. It's a nun revenge story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this drug cartel comes and they like kill all like her like nun friends, and so she's like, all right. So this nun takes on this really like hot nun takes on all these like drug cartel dudes with like an endless amount of weaponry.
It sounds like a video game.
Yeah, it does.
I can see that being.
But the title was what drew me to it. I was like, I gotta watch this. I can't not like watch this. New nuns with big guns. I gotta watch it. Yeah. So anyway, it was a terrible movie though. But I like watching. I like watching bad movies. I do. I enjoy watching bad movies. Yeah. But anyway, I wanted to make a slasher film of my own because I'm a big fan of the genre, and so I've made a slasher film. Did you had a chance to see it? What'd you think?
I liked it. There's a few moments where it was like way gorier than I thought it could be. You guys had a pretty good team working on it.
Samet Marie from Gore Dolls
did a great job.
Did a fantastic job on that. She did a really good job making all that stuff. That was the one thing that I wanted out of it because I wanted
kind of has to be
blood. I would always kind of say to her, "Can I have more blood?" But like it.
How realistic is that? Like if someone gets cut in the way that these people get cut, it's not gonna gush blood like that.
Probably not. No,
because it's always over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you thought like the genre, as far as the genre, because those old slasher films weren't really about
anything. They're just about like killing.
That's what it was, yeah. And so that's what I wanted to do, and so it's out now, and I hope all of y'all have a chance to watch it. And I'm glad that it's over with. It's finished, and it's done, and it's out there, and it's made, and now I have a slasher film. Cool. Which I really love those old grindhouse slasher films, which is what I was going for. That's what I was going for there.
Yeah.
Diving into
it's hard to segue
from the gore. Yeah. What were we just discussing about making stuff? I have an idea.
Oh.
Well, I think we were talking about my pod thing, right?
Yeah, before the show.
Before the show we were talking about the pod thing. Yeah, I found out that there is actually such a thing. It's called ELF. Mm-hmm. But I have another pretty neat idea.
What's
I'm going to run by it real quick. I hate Christmas shopping. I'm terrible at it. I think there should be a service. You pay someone to go Christmas shopping for you. They wrap it all the stuff and they just give it to you. You just tell them what you want. Yeah. Like you make a list. You're like, give me this, give me this, give me this. You hand it to them. They go out. They stand in all the lines. They go to all the stores. They wrap everything. They give it all back to you. You put it under the tree.
Yeah.
Done.
Surely that exists.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say you can kind of just order stuff online and have it gift wrapped. And then it shows up to your house.
Yeah, but I think he's talking about even like helping select a gift, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh, like you don't have an idea?
No.
So
you can
just say like, this is what they're into now.
Yeah, they're into this.
Okay.
They're into this. Did you see what the big gift was for kids this year? Like what everybody wants.
Is it a drone?
No, it's a Hatchimal.
What is that? What?
A Hatchimal. So there's
sounds like a new age Tamagotchi. Go on.
Yeah, I was actually saying that too.
It's actually like
a Furby.
It's a Furby.
Okay.
In an egg. So you get the toy. You get the toy, and there's like an egg, and you have to take care of the egg. You don't know what animal you got, and you have to wait for the thing.
It's like a blind.
Yeah,
blind
you have to wait for the egg to hatch, and then when the thing hatches, you have your creature that you have, which looks kind of like a Furby.
It's kind of like a Tamagotchi, a little bit.
What is it?
It's like a. Did you not have Tamagotchis? I didn't have a
how
legit.
uncool were you?
I was very uncool.
I didn't have.
I was very uncool.
Did you have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a little keychain, little thing.
Oh,
and
I remember those. All the cool kids had them. I did not.
Yeah. And based on how often you fed it and how well you took care of it, it would turn into different things.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I didn't have like a legit Tamagotchi, but I had the Digimon, and those were. It was kind of the same concept, but you could battle them.
Were you guys? Do you guys remember when the yo-yos made a comeback?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone had a yo-yo.
Everyone had a yo-yo. They made like comebacks, which was an odd thing because that's an odd toy to start with.
It is. Also, I don't know, maybe this is just my school, but it had a very, very short lifespan, but juggling was like what the cool people could do. And, really? I couldn't juggle.
I can't juggle either. God, I was very uncool. I couldn't juggle. I didn't have a yo-yo. I didn't have a Tamagotchi. What did I do?
Did you guys ever have those little finger skateboards?
I did not have one.
Those were cool too.
I had one given to me.
Mm-hmm. I had one.
I never had one. Yeah.
I wanted one.
People would actually like learn how to do little tricks with their fingers. Yeah. It was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, I wanted one. I didn't because everyone else had one, but I didn't even skateboard to start with. So
I did it like alone for a few minutes.
I
had no idea how to actually do anything. I could ride it, and
I was never into what like the top thing was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember, like even my Pokemon card collection struggled.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was into as a.
You can't think back to like what was your thing.
I don't remember having a thing. I remember liking a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I liked movies.
Oh, so you had like
figures from movies. Like I that was my thing. Like because my mom let me watch movies that a lot of the other kids would never even dream of seeing at that age.
Yeah.
So like I had this like movie knowledge, and I was like really into movies, and always wanted to like do and be all these people from these movies,
right.
And I had all these figures from these movies, but I never like all the kids have this. I never like wanted that.
My big like early childhood thing was Toy Story. I really like Toy Story a lot,
too.
And so I got a lot of like Toy Story toys, and then like Burger King. I don't know if you guys remember Burger King released a bunch of Toy Story toys. And I had those. But then when I got a little bit older, like my big childhood love was Dragon Ball. So I just had a bunch of Dragon Ball figures.
I had a ton of Jurassic Park toys because Jurassic Park was my favorite movie.
Yeah, I had a few of those.
So I had like a ton of Jurassic Park toys. Because I thought Jurassic Park back then was like the coolest thing. Still do, actually. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I love Jurassic Park.
Well, the going back to the like Tamagotchi things, the Digimon I had... you have to like feed them, and they'll like poop, and you have to get rid of their poop or else they get sick. And I don't know if this is how it was with Tamagotchi,
more or less, yeah.
But with the Digimon, if you didn't do a good job, it would evolve into like a poop Digimon, which was like the lamest one. It was what you got if you put no effort into it at all. And that's what I always got because I was never really good at it. But I remember I went on a trip to my cousin's wedding in California, and that whole time I was like super dedicated, and I had like evolved this really, really good Digimon. And I kept it in my pocket. My mom washed it and just completely destroyed it. Killed my Digimon.
Oh man, poor thing.
And then I never raised another Digimon.
Yeah. Put so much effort into that one. I'm not doing this.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done with this. Anyway, I guess we'll move on to what the actual discussion is tonight. So someone came over to me the other day, and they said, "You'll never believe what I heard." And I said, what did you hear?"
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they were talking with someone who was religious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were talking about schizophrenia. And this religious person was under the impression that one of the main causes of schizophrenia was actual demon possession.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their reasoning was behind it. I think I'm saying this right. I'm telling the story right. But they were under the impression that most mental illnesses are caused by demonic activity, which is a very old, ancient way of looking at things. But it's a very odd thing to hear about that now.
Yeah.
Because science. So it was very odd to me.
Yeah.
And I remember being struck when I heard it and saying, you know what, I want to talk about this subject on the show. Because
it's interesting.
I was actually kind of angry about that.
You should be. I think anyone should be, because it's offensive.
Yes. Well, it's basically saying that anyone ever who has any type of mental illness at all is actually just possessed by a demon. And,
which does nothing to fix anything.
Well, it's a very simple way of looking at it, isn't it? It's just a way of... But it's also kind of a cruel way of looking at it. But what's... Because it's simple in the fact that, like, well, it's just demon possessed. Wave it away. So but then you're also saying that this person is demon possessed.
Yeah. Well, and there might not really be any way to answer this because we don't know.
I just wanted to open up for discussion.
Yeah. But what I want to say is, do you think that the majority of people who believe that actually firmly believe that, or do you think it's essentially almost like just intellectual laziness?
Well,
it's easier to just say that than actually figure something out.
I do believe, and Aaron, let me see what you think about this. I do think, to a degree, that it is a very small-minded and unintellectual statement.
Yeah.
To say this person is possessed by a demon and this is why it happens. But at the same time, I think that person would argue with me that their intelligence comes from their religion. From my knowledge of this person, it seems like
the line of that inquiry is far left from where I thought this conversation was going. No offense to your question. I think that it can be. It's a cop out. It's kind of like a negative representation of or reflection of God of the gaps becomes the demon of the gaps, basically. Mm-hmm. So basically blaming all bad things that you can't explain on demons or Satan, that sort of thing. Yeah. And that does to sort of tie back in the conversation I had with y'all some weeks ago about, where the will of God just becomes mysteriously absent and unknowable to us when bad things happen. I think that it's important to distinguish between demonic possession in the sense that you have a demon and it just sort of it's a resident in your person, and then demonic influence, meaning you're demon free, but you surround yourself with these negative influences. But then also to just the general context of the conversation that you're having about this, saying that someone has a demon or explaining away negative behavior because of demonic activity, whether it's possession or just influence, is literally dehumanizing. And I think that sort of puts a name or a word behind that frustration that you feel. And when you say you're brushing off, what you're basically saying is that this individual, at least in this moment, is less than human.
Yes, and that's what irked me.
Yeah.
It also, I think that irked me, and the fact of just how stupid that is.
Yeah, if they honestly believe that there's a creature, spirit type thing.
That this person, that's the thing, that this person who has this mental illness would be completely fine if we could just get the demon out of him.
Yeah.
I think drives me crazy.
Well, also the rejection of medicine is another sort of implication.
The rejection of thought.
Well, there are at least two layers to that. First of all, to the question of whether people literally believe that is true, fully believe that is true. I have the same conversation with individuals that try to come at conservative evangelical Christians for being traditionalists or literalists. And when pressed on certain issues, you'll find that they will quickly be forced to confess that they don't believe the Bible is literal all the way through. Mm-hmm. You'll get to a certain point and you'll say, oh, well, that's clearly allegorical. That happened in the past. It may have happened then historically, but that's not something that's supposed to be represented in my morality today. They somehow make that distinction in certain cases, but not in others. Mm-hmm. And I think when it comes to discussions about demonology, that a lot of Christians have not found a functional, reliable way to import both their Christian faith and modern views of science when it comes to maladies like mental illness or even physical illness. But in regards to the second layer that is somewhat concerning and I guess exposing the heart of people that talk about these things is that if you believe that it is demon activity or demonic activity that's causing these whether it's mental illness or physical illness, then you must hold hospitals and psychiatric facilities and therapists in contempt for not applying. Yeah. And I really.
Why would you trust a hospital?
I really don't. I really don't think that the vast majority of people that would make passing references to mental illness as being a byproduct of demon possession or influence, I really don't think that they honestly believe that. Mm-hmm. I think that they believe it in certain instances. It's clear to them. at the moment that this person is clearly demon possessed. Well, what about this person over here that's on meds? You can't tell they have a demon, right?
Do you think it's...
And in that case, do you genuinely believe that psychotropic medication is actually just demon possession symptom masking material?
So do you think most evangelical Christians believe in medicine?
Yeah, of course they do.
They would have to. But the point is, I don't like to get back to what you were saying. To be under the assumption that medicine is essentially an anti-demon substance.
Right.
How would that even come about? The people who created and manufactured it aren't saying that that's what it is.
We designed this pill to combat demons.
Exactly. So how would the people who would assume that have any basis for assuming that? Or would they think it was just coincidental?
Yeah, I mean, it just so happens to gel with their personal beliefs. Right. It conforms to their expectations.
But do you think most evangelical Christians even trust doctors at that point then? Because I know that this person, and most go to hospitals and they're like, well, we'll pray that this gets better.
But let's also take the medicine.
I mean, at that point, do you think most of them... If you say something, to me, it says, if you say something like mental illnesses are just demons, then you also, when you go to the hospital and someone's in there, you can't look the doctor in the face because the doctor is the guy who's doing the work, right?
Right.
So, I mean, if the doctor comes, I've heard a lot of them say, well, we'll keep, even though the doctor said this dude's going to die in a week, we'll just keep praying that things change. But
I would assume, though, that if they truly felt that it was an actual demon, they wouldn't go to the doctor. And if they got to the point where they went to the doctor, that would be evidence that they weren't 100% convinced it was a demon.
Well, yeah. I mean, because if you go to the doctor, you're pretty much doing that. Because, if you're convinced that that the doctor has nothing to do with healing anyone, that a mental patient or just a cancer patient anyway, the doctor has nothing to do with it. Because if you believe in demons and you believe that, literally that God is controlling what is happening and the doctor's doing really nothing essentially at that point.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm feeling from that.
Well, I think that
because it's a doctor,
and I understand. I think that what gets lost in translation is a really broad brush. When we say that Jesus was the head of a healing ministry, and that he sent out his followers to go out and heal other people as well. We just assume that 100% of the healing that Jesus did and his followers did were laying on of hands or just praying for them. Right. We just assume they had no medical expertise whatsoever. Someone's bleeding out, they're like, who needs tournaments? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
There very well could have been some medicinal.
They threw out everything.
Yeah.
Well, it could also stand the reason they went to the person's house and they're like, what does this person have? They have this and this, but we can't afford the medicine because money. And these people were like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get it. I'm going to take care of it.
Right.
Maybe they did that. Maybe they went and got medicine for these people. I mean, I just have a feeling that they didn't just go in and just, like you said, lay a hand on them and be like, oh, they're going to be fine. Don't you worry about it.
But there are instances where that's what is said happened.
Right, it's documented as such.
And I think people just assume then that's the way it's done.
Right. And
what happens when you assume?
Well, so I don't really think that people genuinely, regardless of what side of the spectrum you're on in terms of Christian faith, I don't think that there are anyone out there that just really genuinely believes that medicine is the work of the devil.
Snake handlers, there was that show with the guy who died because he got bit by a snake.
I know. Your mom was watching that. I remember a few years ago watching it with her, and one of the guys got bit and just stopped showing up on the show. Yeah. And I was like,
he's dead.
Yeah. And it turned out he did.
He did die. Yeah. He got bit by a snake. And he didn't go get help, and guess what?
That seems like a strange thing to do, to essentially be testing your religion.
Well, in that way. There's you may recall in both Matthew and Luke when Jesus tempted.
Assume we don't.
Okay, all right. Well, let's start from the beginning. So, Matthew and Luke share a lot of the same material. And they're told slightly different ways, but Jesus is tempted in the desert after his baptism. One of his temptations, he responds back to Satan You should not put the Lord your God to the test. And he's actually quoting
because he's saying turn the rock into bread, and then
I think actually that's his response to that is a man cannot live on bread alone.
Yeah, but I think he tempts him 3 times.
Yeah. Throwing himself off of the temple, I think is that's when he responds in that way. Yeah. So, I think snake handling does sort of fall into that weird space. I mean, that's a question though for every faith act. I mean, you ask yourself that same question, like when you go out and feed homeless people downtown, like how much risk am I putting? Out for myself and for the sake of others. Snake handling, I think, is personally, I think, is unnecessary risk.
Well, what is it
for the merit?
What is it? What is the merit? What is that doing for anyone?
The demonstration of the glory of God. That's all.
So if you get bit by if you get bit by a snake and you're healed, then that is a glory of God moment for you.
Or that it won't bite you.
Or that it won't bite you.
That's what I thought was that it didn't bite you. Yeah. But then where does that stop?
Even if you do get bit, they're like, if God...
you die.
No, but I mean, where do those acts stop? Could you not put a bullet in a chamber and spin it and put it to your head and not be the exact same concept?
That's very good, because I think that is the same concept.
But would we...
if you take a black mamba and you start screwing with it, and it bites you or doesn't bite you, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
But I would say that those acts would be over. Say that, on the show, I don't remember what his name was. We'll call him John for these purposes. Say John gets bit by a snake. John and all of us pray that John is okay because he's a holy man. John dies. I would say that was all I needed to see to know that was stupid.
Well,
you know what I mean? And
even if he didn't die, that was stupid.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that if I'm everyone else, I'm like, okay, we're done with the snakes.
Right, but they don't.
No, they don't. They're like, well, John must have... He got called home. You know what I mean? John just got called home. Let's celebrate. Let's all get bit by snakes.
It's interesting that this has been brought full circle to a point of conversation we had a couple weeks ago. And the passage... crossed my mind, but then the subject changed quickly enough that it wasn't relevant for me to mention it. But there's a passage in James.
Nothing we mentioned is ever really relevant.
Have you listened to the show?
There's a passage in James where he basically comes down on people who pray for individuals but have the means to help them and don't do it. So if this person is without clothing, what good is it to say, oh, well, I pray you get some clothing if you actually have spare?
When you actually can,
Yeah.
And I could go out and give you the clothing.
So I think it's not an either or thing. It's a both and I think that learning the balance is subtle. I know that within the last year, I would say a year and a half, something like that, we had someone fall out at the church in the middle of the service, just fall out into the aisle.
What happened?
I don't know. I think she was dehydrated or something. But
not a demon.
Yeah, not a demon. And I remember the speaker in front of the podium at the time. Just said, all right, everyone, let's pray. And
get this woman.
No. But here's the thing. For the 200 people that were there, right? Hey, let's pray. He was speaking to maybe about 120 of them. Okay, when he says this. There's a subtlety to which you're supposed to be clued in. Like, first of all, he knows, like, for instance, I'm running the soundboard, I'm running the lights, got the camera going with, documenting everything that's going on here. Yeah. He doesn't mean me stop what I'm doing and pray, right? The medical professionals that are in the area, police officers, firemen, whoever happen to be trained as first response. He doesn't mean, hey, sit there and pray with us for a minute. What he means is, everyone,
stop what you're doing.
Everyone who can't help, pray, and everyone who can, do.
Yeah,
right.
The obvious question is, why did he just say that? It's an understood thing. It's like did the people who could help?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the woman just wasn't laying.
She didn't just lay there.
I thought you meant he said this and it fell on deaf ears, and
no.
Afterwards it was like, well, guys, what I meant was.
Come on, guys.
Right.
Come on. I don't know why I have to explain this.
Right. Yeah. No. Someone got a wheelchair, and there were some other people that were medically trained professionals that came, and
everything was good.
Yeah, everything turned out to be fine.
Right.
Well, see, all right. So I was at a church one time, a really odd church. Okay, I was there. Audra was singing a song, and I was there. I had to take her. So anyway, during something, this girl just fell out. And it was kind of like what he described.
Yeah.
She was standing up and she didn't bend her knees and she just went down. And anyway, the guy was giving a speech during it. And like when she fell over, all he did was just turn and go over and touch her and just started praying. But she was just kind of laying there. And I was like, someone should be doing something. But I was visiting, so I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So I was just sitting there like, this is weird. She's just laying there. And he's just over there like praying.
Yeah.
And then afterwards she got up on her own and he was like, are you good? And she was like, yeah, I'm feeling better. And he's like, and then they all started saying it was all him.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he took credit for the whole thing. Well, I mean, I guess he didn't take credit. He was like, this, because I did this, she's like, but no one did anything to help her.
See, I feel like that's, I mean, obviously I'm not big into church, but to me that just seems like an odd thing to do. Because I remember do you remember months ago when Bernie Sanders was still campaigning? I think it was towards the end. Someone fainted while he was there, and he hopped off the podium and went to go make sure he was okay. Yeah. And I remember when you were there at school, and there was a kid who hadn't done any of his work for the entire semester, and then went to the teacher and basically said, "I know I'm failing. We've got about a week later. What can I do to pass?" And you can't do 3 months of work in 1 week. And so the teacher basically said, there's nothing you can do. It's not going to work out. You're going to fail. And the kid fell and had a seizure. I guess he had like a stress-induced seizure. And he dropped. And it was just the teacher, him, and me. And the teacher looked terrified. And he yelled at me to go get help. And then I went and got you and the other teacher. That seems normal to me. He didn't say like, Ross, pray. Like that seems like not to make fun of people who do that, but that seems odd. You can
pray,
but it just seems like
afterwards.
But it just seems odd that when you see someone in some kind of crisis, it seems like I would think that the normal thing to do, regardless of where you are or what you believe, is to ask for help.
Well, I mean, I remember I had an experience some years ago, downtown Raleigh. Over there across from Cup of Joe, there used to be a music venue and a bar that's no longer. They tore it down to do construction there.
Raleigh under construction, you don't say.
Yeah. And I remember I went to go see a friend and his band play that evening. And we were packing up his stuff, putting it back in his vehicle. And somebody said, hey, there's a big commotion. There's been a hit and run. And for whatever reason, my genius self decided I should go see what the commotion's about. And so I ran over there and I saw there's this big crowd of people. It's like 1 a.m, ish, midnight, 1-ish. And a big crowd of people all standing around the road. I run up close enough to see this mangled body. I was like, well, that's not what I needed.
Good Lord.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, I saw this man. I saw this man doing CPR on this corpse that was never going to have life again. Right. And I heard somebody shout from the crowd, if you don't know what you're doing, stand back. And immediately the crowd took a step back. And so I think there's another impulse there, which is that even though you have no idea what to do, you just kind of step forward. And so I think that like in the instance I described, I think a call to prayer is kind of like a subtle, just a reminder. It's like, okay, who here can do something, who here can't,
and it gives something to do.
I guess, but I just from my point of view, like if something happened to me and I fell out and I was like losing consciousness, and the person in charge said pray, I would lose consciousness, thinking, well, I'm fucked.
Well, that was it then.
Yeah, I would. That would not make me feel comfortable if, as I was fading away, all I heard was people saying, "Let's pray." I'd rather hear someone say, does anybody know how to do anything? Does anyone know CPR? Like, those are the things that I think would comfort me.
Well, the thing is, again, he was also trying to, it's a sort of crowd control. He didn't want it
well, in
to
that
turn into a riot situation.
And in that situation, I mean, I guess that's what the norm would be. So, I mean.
To put it back on demons, though, do you believe in demons? Do you believe in demons? Do you think they exist? What do you think when you think about it?
I don't have enough experience with what I would call a robust demonology to be able to even.
Well, how do you? I mean, yeah.
What I mean by that is that in the time of Jesus, there was a robust demonology. Demons had names, and it was more than just legion. People who were skilled enough in the Pharisee sect would have known the names of certain demons and of certain angels. This is why they were important. That's why the name of Jesus is important, because he's up above all the rest. In terms of authority. Mm-hmm. So they had names, they had attributes, they had, a hierarchy of sorts that is almost entirely inaccessible to us today unless we study Kabbalistic Judaism. And even then, it's not clear that that's exactly what was believed back then. So the alternative is believing whatever the Catholic Church has tried to get us to believe, which I'm well aware is an amorphous blob of every other religious institution the Catholic Church has ever encountered.
But doesn't it always seem like demons? Doesn't it ever seem like demonic activity only ever happens to the Catholics, though?
Well, no, they're more likely to call it demon activity because that's part of their lexicon. But
yeah, well, and I guess I should say, as the only person who grew up in a Catholic, place. Not once did I hear anyone even talk about that. Yeah.
Because it happens like in the movies. Every time there's a demon movie.
Exactly. I think most people's view of Catholicism's acquaintanceship with demons is from like The Exorcist. Yeah. And that could be how it is in some places. Mm-hmm. I come from, the Northeast. So maybe that's maybe it's a regional type thing, or maybe it's... Because I know that... Catholicism, where I come from, around the people, it wasn't as serious as Catholicism from like certain Latin communities. Right. Like much more serious. But yeah, we never talked about demons. I remember when I first met Audrey, I told her that I grew up Catholic. I convinced her that I had to go on a exorcism with the priest.
Did you?
Yeah. I was telling her because you have catechism in Catholicism, which is basically you get confirmed and then you're part of the church that way. And I told her that to like complete it, every person has to go on one exorcism and help.
Did you get to do it?
No, it didn't happen. That I'm making it up.
Oh.
See, I just fooled you.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I was about to
that's how little.
Tell us all.
No.
What happened?
It never happened. That's what I'm saying. That's how little people understand around the people I've talked to around
really
here.
Disappointed. I was hoping that was true.
No, that's what I'm saying. We never even talked about it.
I talked to a guy the other day who told me that one time he was in church and this woman just started growling and freaking out and shouting, and they had to get her to the back, and they got her. She was like an older lady, but she was like throwing guys off. Really? And they were having to like hold her down. And then she was like, there was a woman who came up to help, and this woman was a visitor to this church, but she started like saying stuff about this lady that was all true.
Wow.
And she had like a really deep voice, and then like and then it all stopped, and she had no clue what was happening and why everybody was over her and what was going on.
I would have loved if that happened where I grew up. That would be great.
I was like, dude, I would love to see something like that. Like, I would give anything to see something like that.
My experience with the Catholic Church is really, really boring. You go in there and it's just a reading from the Bible.
Well, my experience with Southern Baptist Church is really, really boring.
Well, but even the few things I've seen with the Baptists is they go way like off script with like all the music and stuff. The Catholic Church, it was just all like hymns and like classic sort of like organ type music. Yeah. And there was nothing modern about it. It was just very stoic. So
sounds fun.
Well, but see, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if my experience is unlike the average Catholic experience. It'd be great if Ariana was here because she was Catholic too. Did she ever talk about those stories?
No.
I don't know. Maybe it's a North American type thing. Maybe in other countries that's how it is.
Yeah.
Well, to back up a little bit, there's a back end to my response, which is that while I don't have, let's say, names for demons or a robust demonology to lean upon, I can understand why certain religious individuals would invoke demons as explanations for phenomena, simply because there are strange. I've had stranger experiences. I've known other people who had strange, negative spiritual experiences that are not explicable through the normal course of
shit happens.
Well, yeah, shit happens is not really a good explanation I think it'd be better for soothsaying, as you were explaining earlier. Just okay, one person's howling like a banshee, the other person is just soothsaying about someone they clearly don't even know. At some point you're going to go, how. What? How? What? Yeah. And now I realize that if your first grasp is demons, maybe you might be missing
demons.
You might be missing a simple explanation. I'm not saying that Occam's razor has to chop this to bits, but
let's chop it up.
I think that the appeal to demons as an explanation for all adverse psychological phenomena is overblown.
I guess here's the big deal: is that to me, there are people in the world who I don't know what their problem is. Okay, like really bad people that you read about. Mm-hmm. People that I've written about in stories, characters I've created in my own stories that are based off of people I've read about that I just didn't know what the hell was going on with them. But at the same time, I don't think they're possessed by demons. I think, to me, everything always starts with there's a cognitive imbalance in that person's brain that causes them to be this way. There is a experience in their life that causes them to be this way. My first thing when I see something I don't understand about a person is not to go, well, clearly that person's got a demon controlling them. It's always like, okay, cognitively, something is misfiring in that person's brain. Mm-hmm. And that is where I go first. And I think that when it comes to shouting demons or what's happening here is demons, it could be that lady who went into that visit. Now, the fact that she did know stuff about that one lady.
But how do you know the story?
Someone told it to me, so I didn't even see it.
Right.
But, I mean, at the same time, it could be just someone going, I'm going to go in this church and really screw with these people today. But, I mean, it could be. But it's not... whenever something happens, I don't ever just go... demons.
Yeah, but...
there is an explanation for everything.
Mm-hmm. I would say, though... you would have to ask what is the outcome that the religious person saying demons wants? Do they want to help them?
I don't know.
Because if they genuinely want to help them, I feel like that's a rather unkind thing to do than just blow it off as demons.
Well, I
feel like if the aim is to help them, then they've probably done the one thing that's going to ensure no help.
Well, I would say that someone who... I would say that someone who goes around saying that demons exist would need to be checked out.
Well, yeah. But do they say it just because they want to say it, because they want a quick explanation, or do they actually care about what the outcome would be? Maybe
it's something like they know that they have a problem. It's like you were talking about the guy in the bell tower the last week on the show.
Yeah.
He clearly knew he had a problem.
Yes.
He didn't know how to deal with it. So maybe the person knows, hey, you know what? I know there's something not right about me. You can kind of tell when you're there's something not right about so maybe they were maybe they are also, it's also possible that the person who has something wrong with them would think, I'm possessed by demons. And I need help from religious people to get these demons out of me. What they really need is a really good shrink and insurance.
Yeah. But so if that's the person who has it is thinking that, obviously they have some issue anyway, so they may not be going in the right direction. But my question is for the people who seemingly are of sound mind, then taking the position, well, it's a demon. I have to wonder what their intention would be.
Well, again, it may simply be a way of identifying through their own lexicon that they do not have the ability to directly influence the situation, and that the only thing they can do is pray for the person. I think that's. I mean, at the same time, the fact that it is sort of a Siamese twin with dehumanization, you really cannot invoke. Demon possession or demon influence over a person without suggesting that the person is less than human. It's difficult to make that
But I believe praying is a good thing. I mean, there are times that I've gone through recently when somebody says that they've got a problem. I can do nothing for them.
Right.
I don't know how to help. There's nothing I can do to help, even if I could, because they've got some kind of illness. So I have even said, well, you know what, I'll pray, and I have. I do. I think that is an appropriate. It's kind of like what you were saying. The people who can't do anything. Okay, with the people who don't know anything, would they stand over here and pray, please? And the people who have experience, would you please go over there and help that person?
But when you say pray, what do you mean?
I keep them in my thoughts.
You keep them in your thoughts.
I think about them,
and you hope for the best. But you're not actually trying to get something otherworldly to fix this.
No. I'm not, because I don't think that would happen. I feel like if I keep positive outlook on their situation, good thoughts, good intentions, maybe karma will bless them with something.
So you just open up a hole over here.
My thing though is in I guess, let's be specific. In response to the person that you were talking about that started this whole debate, was not the suggestion, this person has a demon, don't bother with medicine?
No,
it wasn't.
No, actually, he was actually suggesting that the person take medication.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was in reference to A Beautiful Mind, and how when he was not on his meds that he was not right, even though it made him more of a mathematical genius during that interval. Okay. So that raises all sorts of other strange Christian ethical questions, such as if you were involved, let's say you were involved in some area of ministry, whatever it was, and you excelled in it, but you also had this terrible sin, whatever it was, and you knew that there was a medication you could take that would do away with the sin, but at the same time do away with your ability to effectively minister in ways that you genuinely believe God has called you minister in. Would you take the medicine, not take the medicine? Would you genuinely believe that it's a dialogue between angels and demons, or would you think about it in some other way? And I'm not sure that the individual in question would have an immediate response to that, and neither do I, quite honestly. It's something interesting to think about, because a lot of people will say, like for instance, with the homosexuality issue, people say, well, if I had a pill to take and it would make me straight, I would do it, kind of thing. And it's like, well, it's an interesting prospect.
Why though? Because that's who you are. That's a part of you.
Well,
why would you take a pill to get rid of the best part of you?
But that's. I mean, we can absolutely go on with that, because that's interesting as well. But I would say, just before we go to that, I think a lot of the issue with people who don't like the demon answer, I think it is, and maybe incorrectly, an implication that because it's a demon, therefore medicine will not help. I think that's what people have an issue with. If everybody who thinks that demons exist and that demons are the cause of this also think that medication completely can help a person, then I don't think we would have that big of a problem. It's like, I don't think knocking on wood will stop something bad from happening, but I don't get mad at people who do it.
Are you superstitious?
No.
I kind of am.
See, I'm not superstitious, but that's the thing. I think the reason why some people get mad at people who claim demons isn't just because they're claiming demons. I mean, that definitely, people can go on about that. But I feel like it is also just the concept of you're missing the problem, and when you miss the problem, you can't successfully help the problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever solution you have ends up working accidentally. I don't think.
Well, see, in this case, I feel like I honestly believe that this person that I am keeping in my thoughts, because I want to turn out well. I don't think that if it did turn out well, I don't think I would be the cause of it. I would just think it was well good. See, that's the thing. I'd be like, well, I'm really glad that worked out, but I had literally nothing to do with it. But I am very glad that it turned out the way I wanted it to turn out.
So does that make sense? Yeah, but is that you that makes perfect sense, but you earlier referred to it as praying. Is that what prayer is?
You also had some kind of karmic kickback to it.
I told you I was superstitious, though.
Well, there is the concept of karma. I mean, as I understand it,
I still don't think that. But
doing good and having good.
In all seriousness, I don't really think karma exists, because people do. I've seen jerks all the time who bad karma never gets them.
But is the concept
bad karma never comes back?
And this might just be semantics, but is
karma anything just something you say anyway? So I can figure.
Well, karma
is an actual belief.
Yeah,
well, I just say it.
Yeah.
Oh, good karma got coming my way. Knock on wood.
It's a way of explaining evil in a way that fits inside a Eastern worldview.
Kind of like demons, right?
But what I was going to say was,
in a certain sense, I suppose,
is not the concept of reward to a certain extent kind of like karma? Because if the concept of karma is if I do good things, then I'll have good things come my way. Well, is that not? Is that not
the truth of it is?
But is that not a big part of Christianity?
No,
in the
it
concept
is.
Of heaven?
I think what you're alluding to is that, and I think the truth of it is when good things happen to me, I honestly believe that a good thing happened. I will say, "Ooh, that was some good karma," or "Thank you, Lord." But I think, in all seriousness, we all know
it was just random good.
A good thing happened. That's all it was.
Yeah.
For once in the day, something good happened to me. But you don't think any other world?
No,
because honestly, this person, even though I was thinking about them and their situation earlier today, and saying, man, I really hope it works out for them, and I hope everything's cool. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if it did happen, I would go, awesome, thanks. But I don't really feel like I would have anything to do with that.
If something horrible happened, would you think, well, I didn't do it hard enough?
No. Well, I would be like, well, yeah, that sucks.
I don't understand what we're discussing. We all seem to be in somewhat agreement that.
Well, I think it's just, I don't know. I think you can kind of feel both about something. You can kind of be like, maybe do a little jig for Jesus, but also feel like maybe what happened was just a random act of this just happened.
I mean, we're all capable of holding two concepts.
Hang on. Well, this is interesting. Do you think that God is literally sitting? He wakes up in the morning.
Does he wake up?
Does he sleep?
Yeah, let's give this. Hang on. Okay. Stay with the narrative.
We'll go back to that. Yeah.
Stay with the narrative. Okay. So God wakes up. He goes to the cloud. He's got his coffee mug. Says best Lord in town, right? And he's got his coffee mug, and he sits there on the edge of the cloud, and he's like, all right, something bad happens to you today, something good happens to you today, something bad happens to you today.
I don't think...
do you think that... I don't think it's that... That's why I don't think God has anything to do with anything that happens. I think things happen, and he had nothing to do... Because I don't feel like he's up there like, you have a shitty day, you have a shitty day, you have a good day, you have a shitty day, you have a good day.
Yeah.
You didn't pray hard enough for this person, so I'm killing them.
Well, there's worse things happening in the world. I mean, we talk about all the things that we consider shitty, and I don't know what happened to your friend. It could have been something serious, but every single day we've got people in parts of the world who are starving and just dropping dead. I hardly think if God was looking over everything, he would ignore them and care about whose
No one's praying for these people, so I'm not giving them food.
Exactly.
Like, that's why I don't think it has anything to do with anything. I don't know anything about it. But I don't think it has anything to do... I don't think God has anything to do with what happens on a daily basis on this planet.
Right.
Well, to the point about the question of whether God sleeps, I think it's... it's actually a very, very helpful illustration because...
He rests, apparently, if you believe
for one day.
One day.
Even he needs a day off.
Well, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. The notion that God rested, and therefore we actually rest one day a week is so that we can actually appreciate what's already been done, what's already been created. So we humble ourselves and don't take credit for all the terrible things.
Didn't he rest?
Yeah, that's the point.
Okay.
That we rest because he rested.
Oh, yeah, but he rested because he got tired.
No. He wasn't exhausted. He rested because he was
making the earth is hard work.
He was fully satisfied with the creation he had made.
Okay, so is he not then resting every day since?
No, he's not.
But he's not satisfied with it.
No, he's not satisfied.
Not anymore, Rick.
It's here. I'll answer your question allegorically because that's.
Paul McCartney said, "When you got a job to do, you got to do it well."
No, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being serious.
I understand. I understand the question.
I'm trying to be funny.
Okay. One of the major objections that atheists will raise against Christian theism, in particular, is the explanation of why is it that God allows terrible things to happen to certain people. Why won't God heal amputees? Why does He allow children to be born with deformities such that they die within a few hours and these sorts of things? I think that if you genuinely believe in the good news, you start asking questions like, all right, well, why would God send these, let's say, people in Africa or even in America that have never heard the gospel? Why would He send them to hell for not knowing? I think it's a question that we ask ourselves, not because of the nature of God and that we genuinely believe that God is going to send those people to hell.
Why are you sending anyone to hell?
Hold on. I don't think
I just can't wait.
I don't think that matters as much as we would like to think it does.
But he's not sending them to hell, though.
They're sending themselves.
Exactly.
Well, supposedly. It's difficult to imagine why it is that a deformed 1 hour old baby sends themselves to hell for not knowing the gospel.
Oh, I understand. That's the point.
But I understand why. I understand there are various explanations from various sects of Christianity that try to explain situations like that, or what to do in the case of those that have never heard the gospel and that sort of thing. But that's really a secondary issue, because what you're really asking yourself is, how seriously should I take my own faith? Because if I can't answer this question, then this is faith not worth having, and they throw it out altogether.
If it's faith, it shouldn't be answerable. That's the point of faith.
Not only that, though, the question is, does God sleep? The answer is, God sleeps when we allow terrible things to continue happening in the world around us. We have the ability to change things. We think we have the ability to change things when we don't, and we overstep our bounds, right? This is what we were talking about earlier. If you don't know what you're doing, step back. Right. And if you do have the capacity to do what you're supposed to do, then step forward. And that's really what the calling is. It's a recognition of your talents, your abilities, and applying them, as much as humanly possible in the short time that you have on earth. And so far as I understand it, this is the satisfaction of God, and it's not really our concern, honestly, whether certain individuals in some area of the world where we have no influence, no reach whatsoever, go to hell when we allow things to fall to shit, when we have the ability to change it in our own neighborhoods and workplaces and stuff like that. So it's a kind of it's a question that keeps us from answering.
You don't think God has his hand in the cookie jar then, kind of mixing things up? You think that we're doing it to ourselves, really? Do you think he would ever intercede in anything like that? I mean, are you saying he doesn't intercede in things when he looks at what's going on in, like, Middle East, or maybe election process, and says, oh, to hell with that?
You're saying, or is the concept that he set everything up and now we've taken over and we either choose to do something good or something?
Did you listen to the show last week? We were talking last week about free will, about how Christians will say God has a plan for you, but you also have free will, and I'm saying you can't have both. Right. You would have either or, because it sounded like for a little bit there, that's kind of what you were saying, that things happen because we overstep and we do stuff, and he's just like, well, there they go.
Well, no, I think that it's probably better understood as part submissive, part collaborative. I mean, there's a point at which you realize, okay, I don't have the ability to do this, or I don't have the ability to do this, but I need to get to that point. I have to go through whatever trial I have to do to get to that point, and you don't suffer through that alone. You suffer through that with other Christians. You suffer through that in the presence of God. And so in that sense, when you pray to God for a change in the world, you're not just praying into a vacuum and then hoping that it resonates with God and then it comes back to us in the form that we prayed it in. We're actually praying for a certain form of collaboration, saying, God, if you're willing, I'm willing to take a part in this. I'm willing to see you act here, and if you don't act in this situation, I may not totally get it, but you're God. You have a better plan than I do, but I'm ready to participate, whatever it is. And when you pray with someone who is sick and dying ill, whatever the case is, you're calling them into the same light to participate as much as they can possibly participate in the form that they currently have. And it's a challenging thing.
It make them feel better too. I guess it makes them feel better too.
Right. Well, I mean, it's this is something actually I brought up with our Sunday school class recently. There's a parable of the wedding banquet in the Gospel of Matthew, and again, Matthew and Luke, they share a lot of the same stories, totally differently. In Luke's version of it, the master of the feast sends out servants to get people out from the field, from where they're working, and say, hey, this feast is ready, come on in. And they all make excuses for why they can't come back. And so the master is furious. And so he sends his servant out in the streets, and he says, get the blind, the lame, the sick, basically the nobodies, the deplorables, if you will, right?
The Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Go give me Trump supporters.
Yeah. And he says, bring them in. Bring them in. And after they bring all of them in, there's still room. There's still room. And so I think that to that end, the gospel and sharing that with individuals and praying with individuals, no matter what state they're in, is a matter of showing them that God's house is really big, and that however you can possibly participate, He not only wants you to participate, but He also wants to celebrate.
Yeah.
And that is the message that I believe that Jesus brought. Now, what the descendants of His followers did with that message is another subject for another time, probably.
Right.
But so I think that prayer is an important thing. I think that prayer can change things. I think that the human body has a rather curious way of rebounding from illness, whether it's physical or mental, in ways that are not explainable by modern science, and that a lot of times seem to have this very subtle thing of whatever we can identify as the quote unquote will in the brain, because we haven't been able to identify that.
It also has a way of shutting itself down too.
This is true.
Do you remember Grandma when she called when she was going to die? She said that this was on her birthday. Mm-hmm. I think it was on her birthday. She said that she was going to die soon.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. She knew that was her last birthday. And 14 days later, the day after my birthday.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That's right.
She died the day after my birthday, which I was hoping, almost praying, saying, do not let her die on my birthday, because that's something I'm going to remember. My birthday is going to be remembered the day Grandma died.
Yeah.
So it's the day after.
Yeah, now you know that way.
Yeah. But not to, so
that was kind of a moment where I almost felt like.
Yeah, but I guess my thing is, and I know everyone's going to assume this response from someone who isn't religious, but.
That's why you're here on the show.
Is it not just as plausible that she was dying, getting weaker, and could tell that, well, I'm getting to the end of this?
I always think that it's interesting. There's a story I will tell you after the show, because I don't want to tell it on the air, because I just think that's not a good time to tell this story.
Sure.
You won't believe it. But I always find it interesting where some people do call it. They just know. And I always find that very interesting.
Yeah. But I guess I'm saying are you saying that there's something else going on?
I'm saying that, like, people's sicknesses sometimes is a mental thing. I think that sometimes you get to the point where you're like, that's why most people who retire usually die afterwards if they don't have something else to do. Yeah. And I think that it's always interesting that, like, what he was saying, how the brain and the body can rebound from a sickness, because it does happen. You go into remission all the time from certain things, or miraculously, like, they're fine.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Sometimes the doctors even can't explain. They've said, we don't know how this person pulled out, but hey, they certainly did. But I also think at the same time, I think that a person who's like, oh, well, I'm sick. This is it. I think that it gets worse for them. But if there's a person who mentally says, all right, I have a really bad sickness, but I'm gonna stay positive, they usually do turn out. They're more healthier.
Yeah, but even if that's not explainable by science or through medicine, I guess from my perspective, I see no reason to then make the jump that something else can help explain it. I'm saying, if there's not enough science on something, I feel like the next step is better science, not to completely rail against science and go with something otherworldly or supernatural.
There's always a scientific explanation for everything.
But even if there's not, I guess what I'm saying is I feel like everything that people want to believe, if they want to believe it, fine, but I feel like they're believing it just because they've decided they want to believe it, in the same sense that other religions believe what they believe, or people without religion have decided not to. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
How is that functionally different than people that don't have religious faith?
In what way?
Just making a human statement about why people believe things.
Yeah, but why do they believe them? Just because they want to?
I think that beliefs are a matter of will, but they're also a matter of what Don Miguel Ruiz calls domestication. As you grow up, you learn the ways of the world, and then the world sort of it cradles your heart and your mind, and you carry the world a certain way. And some people are, they're built a little different than others, and it falls through the finger of some. But for the most part,
answered that question better than I could.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is both of you were sort of saying that you think prayer is good. And I'm not saying that prayer is bad, but I'm not saying that I think prayer is good. I feel like if you think it's good, then I don't see why you would think that other than you...
I don't know if I'd call mine necessarily prayer, but I had good intentions and good thoughts. I don't think that maybe thinking something to death is going to happen is always a good thing. There's been girls that I've wanted to date that I've thought about doing working out and never did. But the thing also, I think it makes you feel better, right? I mean, you're thinking, I hope this really works out, and I'm going to stay positive that things are going to be okay here.
Yeah, no, I'm not denying that.
Doesn't that make you feel better?
It could, yeah, without a doubt, it could make you feel better.
How do you handle a situation when you want something to happen? How do you handle it?
Things just happen.
Yeah, but see, here's what I'm trying. Throughout the day, I guess I'm an overthinker.
I want to disconnect the day for a second. I think the things just happen is just as magical in thinking as what you think prayer is. Going,
but it's not magical.
I know that you don't believe that. I'm just saying the way that you just threw that out there, like it's just happens the same way that he threw out good vibes. You just.
Good vibe.
I guess the point
good
is...
Good vibration.
I guess the point I'm getting at is there's a cause and effect of everything. So if I want something good to happen and something good happens, we can go down the path of how it happened. But all I'm saying is I don't think anywhere on that physical path you're going to find any kind of religious, spiritual
there's
aspect.
What I'm trying to figure out is I am an overthinker, so I think about a situation a lot. Mm-hmm. That's what an overthinker does. I have my demon is I'm a chronic overthinker. Okay, mm-hmm. There's a demon who's possessed me who thinks way too much. All right. So anyway, I'm a chronic overthinker. So when I'm wanting something to happen, I'm constantly thinking about it.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm wondering is, when you want something to happen, do you just sit around and don't even think about it because it's going to happen whether it is or not?
Well, I guess I have the same wants that you would have. I'm just not waiting for something otherworldly to generate it.
I'm not either.
Okay, well, but I'm not suggesting that that's exactly.
I mean,
how
I still have to.
Are, but I'm just saying.
For example, I still have to go and ask the God. God's not going to do that for me.
Right.
I still have to go and work for it.
Right, but the point of what I was saying was, I'm not suggesting that prayer is bad. But I'm just not taking the stance that it's good. I think to me it's indifferent. If someone was going to pray for me, I think I would feel good because it would be because they were showing some side of consideration, and that if that's how you show consideration, then sure, I wouldn't reject that because that would be like an act of kindness.
In a situation where I can't do anything about it,
what that act actually will do to me,
probably
in a cosmic sense,
nothing at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think
anything would come of that.
Well,
but I think also that when I have a situation where I don't know what to do, and there's nothing I can do because I physically can't do anything about it, I always go, I'll keep you in my thoughts. And I will think about it, of how I want something good to come out of it.
Because you care about it.
Because I care about it. But I don't, but like I told you earlier in the show, if what I wanted does work out, then it just did.
But see, you said
I don't think I had anything.
But you said that is I think you said it was a magical.
It's a magical thought. Yeah.
But I'm suggesting it's not magical if he said it happened or if I said it just happened. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're missing the magic though. Maybe what he's saying is that maybe it did magically happen. We're just saying, oh well, that.
Well, when I say magic,
without a doubt, maybe. But what I'm saying is, when I say that is me not going through the steps of what actually happened. Mm-hmm. I'm not suggesting that things just happen in that sense. If I wanted something good to happen to me and it happened to me, I'm not of the opinion that, well, it just magically happened. We could go down the line of what caused it to happen, I guess is what the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, I understand that.
Cause and effect of everything.
Yeah.
Everything you do has an effect.
But here's the thing, though, because you just said maybe we're missing the magic. And I don't mean that I'm not trying to equate religion to magic.
Yeah.
But maybe we are. I'm not taking a stance that we have or haven't. All I'm saying is if we think we have, or if we want to say we have, I don't see any reason to take that stance other than we want to.
Well, there's a I mean, there's a multifaceted aspect of prayer that I think is getting lost. One of which is the word for prayer that we have translated into English literally means to orate or to speak out loud. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we engage in silent prayer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right. I think because it's a matter of aligning your heart with the heart of God. I guess
if there was going to be a form of prayer that I would do, that would be just sitting there thinking.
Yeah.
But is that just contemplation?
Well, it is. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, again, I would say most people do.
Yeah.
I especially do.
Yeah.
I think
I do.
There are several layers of concern there. One of which is without the vocalization, there's sort of there's a dialectic aspect that's missing, right? Mm-hmm. This notion that it was brought out in Greek philosophy through Socrates and Plato's writing about Socrates. This notion that you can sort of interrogate yourself or ask God to interrogate your heart so that you better understand yourself and what it is that you really want. Because most of the time that you'll find Christians, or not really Christians, saying they want something out loud, and you hear it and you think to yourself, I don't know if you hear yourself, right? A lot of times, you hear Christians say what or otherwise crazy things. You think to yourself, can they hear themselves right now? I don't think so. I don't think so.
In what they want, you mean?
Like no. Can they hear the disconnect?
Saying that mental illnesses are possessed by demons,
right? It's like
you hear yourself,
right? Have you prayed to God about it? Have you sat in the presence of God and said, God, I don't understand schizophrenia, it seems like demons. Everything I understand.
Go to Wikipedia.
Because the concern then becomes, who is it that you're praying to?
Yourself. Are you just asking yourself what you think?
Are you really submitting?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
you contemplated this with yourself, so because you have this thought, God gave you that thought,
right? And we all make that assumption. God made us. We have, as Trump says, I have a good brain, right?
Good words. I have good words.
Yeah. Best words.
Yeah, best words are the best words.
Yeah, and we're good to go. And I think that prayer offers us an opportunity to submit that and say, you know what, maybe my ego doesn't have the best wrap around this situation. Maybe I need a bigger worldview. And so I think the Lord's Prayer, as unfortunate as it is that it became rote within Christianity, it's sort of the meaning of it is lost. If you study the Lord's Prayer, it basically you're not really asking for much,
right?
In terms of like physical things.
I just always like getting the crouton and a little bit of juice.
That is the Lord's Supper.
Still, don't you? Don't you have to say that though when you're getting juice?
No, you don't. You don't have to. You can if you want, but not.
You can also, in Catholic, you can also hold your tongue out and have them put it on it, which is really gross and weird.
I'm not doing that.
No.
Yeah. The first time that the one that I hated, the first time I ever had to do this, I said, "You guys are crazy." We had to.
I know.
We had to take bread and rip it off, and then go up there and dip it into the one bowl. Mm-hmm. I was like, "You bitches are nuts."
That sounds gross.
So I wanted to go. I was like, bread. He was like, who formed a line. I was up there first because I was like, I want to make sure that my juice ain't been touched by all these other little motherfuckers.
Yeah, other fingers.
I was like,
well, I guess what I'm not getting is what your definition of prayer is. You're saying, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like what you were saying was that it was essentially contemplation. And if you wanted to learn something like schizophrenia, and you were asking God, this seems like demons, I want to know about schizophrenia, where does that then go? Does that go to you learning something?
My point is that I don't think that most people that hold the position that demon possession is the explanation for schizophrenia, or the best explanation for it.
Right.
I don't think that they've actually prayed about it. Okay. I don't think that they've actually had an open conversation.
They've actually contemplated that, because it doesn't sound like they're thinking about much.
So if they do, though, say they genuinely do say, I want to know about this, and they're saying this through prayer, what are you saying is the next course of action that they take?
Well,
go buy a book.
Wow.
But is that God?
Right. Well, what I was going to say was, going back to the Lord's Prayer as an example. If the impetus of your prayer life is the kingdom of God. It is the satisfaction of our daily needs so that we can focus on what God really wants. If at the end of the day you've totally submitted yourself to God through that prayer, and then you followed up with a PS, I want to know more about schizophrenia. Somehow I feel like...
I like that.
Yeah, I feel like one starts to overshadow the other by a great deal. When we get ourselves in passion and about discussions about things related to things we could have prayed about and realized maybe we're not as important as they thought we did, or maybe we don't know what we're doing. Like I said, like the guy that cried out in the crowd, right? If you stand back if you don't know what you're doing. I mean... So it's a matter of humbling yourself, and you stand before God and you say, well, maybe I don't know as much as I thought I did.
I guess my thing is I'm curious about the application of that. Application, I think, is is it just to make yourself feel more open to things, or is it you say the prayer and you say, P.S. I want to learn about or want to know about that, then because you want to know more about that, you then take it upon yourself to go learn more about it, and then you know more about it, and then are you saying that is God?
As an answer to prayer?
No, as an answer to I want to know more about this. Right. The only way you can know more about that is to go learn it. It's not like you're gonna wake up with knowledge of everything that schizophrenia is.
Sure. Well, I know it's not gonna. My point is, it doesn't operate in a vacuum. So going out and studying and actually learning about the disorder, actually meeting people with the disorder, studying pharmacology related to treating the disorder. Related mental illnesses. It's interesting. There's if one of your parents has schizophrenia, you're like 4 times more likely to suffer from schizotypal or schizoid personality disorder, for instance. Interesting little tidbit. That should say something about the way that we interact with people, our expectations in everyday society, or whatever. And do we look at that and go, wow, 1%, at least, if not more, just say all schizophrenics, if we genuinely believe that they're demon possessed, that means 1% of the human population on planet Earth is demon possessed. It's like
a lot of demons.
Yeah, and so exactly. So you ask your question: do I believe that? And if I don't, how do I function in that? And so it's not just one thing, and also intuition. I've had conversations with Justin's mom. There's a band called Silent Planet. They released an album that's dedicated just to telling the stories of the mentally ill and tells it from different perspectives. And even without having spoken to the vocalist who wrote the lyrics, I had basically a listening party at her house, and we went through the whole album, and I was we went through all the lyrics, and I basically explained with I would say 95% accuracy the entire album to her. And I didn't know any of the individuals that he was talking about, but I'd studied enough mental illness. I'd known enough people with similar issues. I knew I had an intuition, and then I personally have a way of dealing with people that are perhaps not as right in the mind as others. Right. It's an interesting talent that I have when I work with it, and it's perhaps because I'm weird myself. That's not a bad thing, but. So I, some natural talent study but there's also some intuition there. And I suppose you can give God credit for that, even if it's for the moment, and being able to just improvisationally explain this album to her in a way that's coherent, in a way that she can understand. Yeah. I'm not going to sit there and run back to my pastor and say, you want to know what God did? I wouldn't explain all this to her, and she got it. Yeah. Right. But at the same time, but I'm not going to say that God wasn't there or that God wasn't working through me in that moment. You see, there's a to me, those kind of meld together.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I guess my question, and I don't know if I'm just not getting it.
No, but I'm probably not getting it.
But I guess, and I don't mean this to be funny or to be rude or anything. No, but not. I guess the point of what I'm getting at is what is the point of prayer, and not in I just mean why do people pray?
to get God to do stuff.
Oh, yeah, I was fixing to say, if you're asking why people generally do it, is for
it's like
for egoistic satisfaction.
Yes, you're presenting wishes to the genie.
But the way in which you described it.
What I'm suggesting is that it's never a bad thing to have a communication with God.
Okay, so I guess to be more specific, my question would be, why do you? What does it do for you, or are you doing it for God?
What do you kind of pray about?
Not anything. I don't mean like you don't have to get into anything personal.
Sure.
I just mean
what is your
what would lead you to even pray, and then what do you feel after it?
Mm-hmm. Well, the question, what does it do for me? I do not generally regard God as a genie.
Right.
That I rub the lamp and he comes out and does what I want him to do.
Although it would be kind of nice, right?
Well, but that's what you guys are saying.
Or you go and collect 7 balls and the dragon and something.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of nice.
Though
if it was that easy.
So I must admit that we all have this tendency. Even if I say that I'm past it, I'm not. There are moments where I want what I want and I want God to give it to me, kind of thing.
So it's basically prayer, as you understand, is essentially just a dialogue.
For you, God. Is it more meditation?
It can be. For me too. I just, again, when I see the things meld together, for me, prayer can be this conversation in the sense that whatever it is that I'm speaking life into this situation, kind of thing.
Right.
Or if I'm doing something good for you in that moment, there's obviously going to be a subtle distinction between actions and words, but there shouldn't be a divorce between the two.
Yeah, but I don't think most Christians think the way you do, though. I think they literally think they're talking to. And they're asking.
But not what is...
And I mean that in a good way. I don't think you think the way they do.
Not what does it do in terms of what do you get in terms of physical, now something good's happened. Right. I mean, like, when you're done with it, do you feel like you've got something that you can then use?
Partially, to answer his question, one of the things that I will find myself doing, personal example, I was asked to pray over my friend's wedding. I did sound at their wedding, good friends with them. They were part of a private Bible study that we had some years ago now. And I'd prayed over their meal at their pre-wedding luncheon some months before, and they'd asked me to pray over their meal at the actual wedding dinner. And I was like, that's cool, I'll do that. And I was really out of my league. I'm like, man, I've never done something like that. Right. I really need to get my heart right. I need to say what's on my heart and what's on God's heart in that moment. And I need that to be as genuine and as real as humanly possible. And so I sort of would walk myself. Well, I walk myself through as if I was driving somewhere, if I was at the grocery store, it would come to mind. I'm thinking, all right, if I were there right now, what would I say over these people? What would I declare?
Lord, I really hope this one works out.
Yeah. Right.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, well, I was,
and I hope that y'all somehow miraculously have the money to buy them a new car and college tuition. That's what you said, right?
No. As a matter of fact, I said nothing.
You just stood there.
No, interesting. No. So
I have literally nothing to say. I am speechless. I am without speech.
In the months and weeks and days that led up to this, I went over this in my mind. It wasn't even so much as a rehearsal. It's just I was just really.
Sounds like they're an overthinker as well.
Yeah. I think you and I are a lot alike.
I think so.
And I was just really basking in this, and so that I said, no matter what comes out of my mouth, I know it's going to be true and it's going to be heartfelt. I know it's going to be real, right?
Yeah.
And so
I feel that way every day.
Just going to wing it.
No matter what. I do this. I don't write anything down with this show. Yeah. I just kind of like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
I think it shows sometimes.
In the actual event, the actual wedding, the pastor delivered a message, and then he also prayed over them. And over the course of the wedding ceremony itself, 90% of what I was going to pray for was already said and prayed for.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, no. I'm not mad about it.
Right.
I'm not mad about it at all. As far as I'm concerned, it's confirmation. It's confirmation for me that I was, that I was in a good place. That, that I was right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was funny because they totally skipped over it with the praying over the meal or whatever. They just kind of dove right in and didn't give me the opportunity to do it. And they felt bad afterwards. I'm like, I'm not mad about it at all. I've been praying for y'all for the last month. And this service played out just like I prayed for. Now, I'm not saying that I prayed that into existence, right? But I, as far as I'm concerned, I realized that there was nothing really missing, and I could celebrate that.
Well, who knows? Maybe your prayer caused maybe that.
Well, I'm not going to focus again. I'm not going to run back to my pastor and say
try to confirm.
Right, and try to declare
what happened.
But if somebody asks me, I will tell the story.
Right,
and it's
So I guess my thing then is it seems like we're differentiating between what you would refer to as prayer, what Justin would refer to as overthinking, what I could consider contemplation. It seems like we're all talking about the same
We've
thing.
all hit a wall.
For me, it's more comfortable for me to pray in that way. I could just as easily have said that out loud. Now, I've been put in situations. If people ask me to pray, I will pray, and it's usually extemporaneous. I feel kind of put on the spot, but I will do it. And in that moment, I go through that same process. It just. It's more rushed.
Anytime I got asked to pray, it was always terrible. Anytime I got asked to pray, I can't do it. Yeah. I just can't take it. And part of me doesn't take it seriously. So anytime I was asked to pray in like a Sunday school or anything like that, or at dinner, it would not turn out right.
Okay, so here's a good point of it. Thanksgiving. Your mom prayed out loud.
Yes.
And I don't know verbatim, but essentially what she said was thank you for this meal and thank you for all the people who are here to eat it with me. Now, me being someone who doesn't believe, I still find that a kind thing to say. Well, and so that's what I'm saying. So she said something that was good. That was just good, and it was kind. And with religion or God or anything completely removed from it, it didn't for me, it didn't lessen the kindness of what she was saying.
Right.
And I guess what I'm saying is maybe I'm incorrectly assuming that for someone who is religious that it boosts that, or it's the same for them as well.
I mean, it's character building, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I'm just saying I appreciated it just from a human standpoint.
Sure.
Let's say if I was religious, or let's say if you heard it, do you think it would mean more to you or to me if I were religious to hear that? Because she was saying it sort of, I guess, because it was a prayer, somewhat on behalf of God or on behalf of her religion. Does that give it more meaning than what I took from it as someone who just heard the words as being something nice to say?
I couldn't even begin to comment on that.
Well, if anything,
no, I mean, I think it's a good question, but it has more to do with what you value and what she values, and how that resonates with the both of you.
Yeah,
it's a little more complicated than I think I can give a simple answer for.
Right. Well, I guess so. I'll ask a different question.
Sure.
Do you, just personally, does it mean more to you if she was going to say something and have it as a prayer, and then I was going to come up and completely non-religious say, I'm happy that all of you are here. I'm glad that all of you are here. It's essentially the same sentiment, but hers is through a different sort of filter, I suppose.
Sure.
And you being religious, does that have more meaning? Or is the intent the same?
I mean, yours is essentially like a toast, if you will.
yeah, I guess, sort of.
So when you toast, are you praying? I mean, like, well, if you say anything...
that I'm glad all of you are here.
That's interesting, because if you say anything... I've just thought of this. If you say anything kind out loud at all, does God go, good?
Well, good. I would imagine.
I mean, or does he go? That's not in the format I enjoy.
I can't. I mean, I couldn't imagine God being that.
I don't even know why you have to pray anyway. Because if everything's to believe where God knows everything you're thinking, and hearing anyway, He knows what you want anyway. He knows what you're feeling. Does he really need you to say it out loud in the format? I need it formatted this way.
Well, I get the way I interpret it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I interpret it as your mom saying that for us, to be nice to us, to be respectful of the. But not that it wasn't.
It's a nice sentimental moment.
But I feel like it was for both. I feel like it was for both. Maybe
I feel like it was. I mean, to her, yes, she felt like she was talking to the big man. To me, felt like she was just letting us all know that we're all appreciated here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, it's still cool. All it keeps me from doing is eating quicker. But but I have to wait.
But a toast would do that as well.
A toast would do that as well. If she raised the glass, tapped it with a fork. I have something I'd like to say. Well, by God, what do you have to say? I'm happy we're all here at the table. Very good. Let's eat. Sit down.
So I guess the question is the intent and the sentiment is equal.
I would have said that it would have been equal for me. It would have been completely equal if she just stood up and said, I just want all of y'all to know that this is a great moment.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Right.
Yeah, great. Yeah, you know what? It is a great moment. I'll drink to that. It would have had the same
of camaraderie.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good moment.
But for her, I imagine it also was a moment
different.
But it was that, but also it added the camaraderie with God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's two dimensions to that. So when Jesus says, when he's asked what the greatest commandment is, he says to love the Lord your God totally. And the second is love your neighbor as yourself. So there's a horizontal and there's a vertical, right, kind of relationship. And that God is not fully satisfied with our human activity until we approach both of those with full intent.
Okay.
And so I think for her, it probably had more of a vertical impact than perhaps it did for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I have to begin to wrap up the show. Yeah. We have gone quite a long time. I will say this, though, real fast. Big coming out of this week, Trump did announce who's going to be Secretary of State. It's the guy who's in charge of Exxon. Do you feel like that's a good choice? And I'll tell you, I think one of the reasons why
I don't know enough to have.
Well, I'll say one of the reasons why I think that I'll close with this. One of the reasons why I believe that he chose him is
we had a chance to close on us on everything being sent to us.
Please tell me the answer is demons.
I was going to say. Demons have completely taken over Donald Trump. Anyway, maybe his choices. Anyway, I'll end with that. Thanks for listening to Shooting Pool. We'll be back here next week, same time, maybe same people. I don't know. We're going through Trinity.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Yeah, you'll be around. Anyway, I'm Justin.
I'm Ross.
I'm Aaron.
Yeah, and thanks for listening to Shooting the Pool, and stay away from demons.